Hello, everybody. Good to see you here today. Welcome, welcome. Looks like we've got a lot of people still coming into the webinar right now, so I'm going to give them just a second longer before we get started. Okay. Looks like that's slowing down. So rather than wait any longer, let's jump right in. So, hi and welcome. Thank you all for being here today. We're very excited to talk to you about Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. So, I do want to let you know that we're recording this information session. So, if you happen to need to log off or if you miss anything during this presentation, we're actually going to be sending out a link to the recording within the next week or so. And I'd love to get started with some introductions. So I am here as well as several other presenters today. So my name is Courtney. I am an admission counselor here at Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. I work with applicants to our accelerated PA program, namely students applying to our Manchester, New Hampshire campus.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christine Kademi. I work with our students applying to our non-accelerated PA program on our Boston campus.
You're muted, Michaela.
Sorry. Hello, everybody. My name is Michaela. I am also an admissions counselor who works with the accelerated PA program as well, except I mainly work with the Worcester campus.
So that's us from admissions. And we do also have a couple of current students here today that I'd love to say hi. I'll just start with Katie, if you don't mind.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm from the Manchester campus, and I just finished my first semester of didactic year.
Hi everyone, my name is Chas. I just finished up my first year on the Boston campus, so we're very happy to be here.
So that's all of us on the call. And like I said, we're really pleased to be here today to talk about the university's program offerings through the School of Physician Assistant Studies. So as you see, we have a bit of a presentation that we're going to be going through. If you have questions, you can certainly use the Q&A function that should be on the menu section of your screen. Rather than using the chat, we'll use the Q&A for your questions. Hopefully, we'll answer a lot of your questions about the university, our two different PA programs that we offer, and how to apply. And then there should be some time at the end as well for some Q&A. So for admission staff questions or even for our students. So let's get started. I think we always love to start with a big congratulations on choosing a career in healthcare. So not only is healthcare one of the largest industries in the United States, but with an aging population, we are just expecting that to grow. And when you look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, basically every healthcare job is growing, and that includes PA. And so, what that means for you is that, many of our graduates and current students even get job offers before they graduate. And if you're looking a little bit later, you'll get it real soon after graduation. And then according to US News and World Report, who puts out a list of best healthcare jobs every single year, PA just continually ranks among the top 2 or 3 every single year running. So you know that you'll have that job security when you finish the program. You'll be able to get a job, and there's some real high job satisfaction in the field of physician assistant studies. Not only that, but MCPHS has a track record for really strong return on investment, meaning that 10 years out from graduation, our graduates are making more money in comparison with most other schools in the United States. So we really do think that although it's a big investment of time and resources, the quality of education that you'll get here at MCPHS, plus that job satisfaction, job growth, you're really putting in a good investment of those resources. So for those of you who aren't super familiar with MCPHS, we are a healthcare specific university. And that just means that of the 100+ programs that we offer here, every single one of them is related in some capacity to healthcare. And so you are surrounded by people who are working their way into healthcare or maybe already have jobs in healthcare. Not only that, but most of your faculty are practicing clinically on top of their teaching duties. And so, you'll get to learn from students all around you through school-sponsored activities, but also you have faculty bringing in real-time things that are going on in healthcare, changes, new treatments, new things that they're trying in the office. And so you get that real time. We've also been around a long time. We actually just celebrated our 200th birthday last year. And so, when we started out back in 1823, we were just a school of pharmacy in Boston, and we have certainly grown a lot since then. We now have 3 physical campuses in Boston, Worcester, and Manchester, New Hampshire, as well as an online presence where we offer several different programs. So we have over 7,000 students at the university coming from all over the world, from all over the United States and even countries across the world. So I think that, that legacy of having been around for so long means that we're really well known in the New England area. We're also in really big healthcare centers in New England. And so that just means that our students have the advantage of really great clinical affiliations, which is a big part of the PA program. So you'll see on this slide that we have several kind of bigger names listed. These are some places where we have clinical rotations. So we've got Boston Children's, Brigham and Women's, Mass General, St. Vincent's, Lowell General, Lawrence General, Elliott Hospital, Southern New Hampshire Medical Center, and St. Joseph's Hospital. Now that is a very teeny tiny example of lists of, of the list of clinical affiliations that we have, but those might be some names that jump out at you that you recognize, especially if you're from the area. And before we talk about the PA programs themselves, I think there's another piece of applying to PA school that it's super important to think about. PA school is intense, and I'm sure you're going to hear that from our students as we kind of go through this presentation. And so, apart from getting that degree, being able to graduate and take your boards, there's other stuff that you're going to want out of a PA program. And so, who better to tell you about some of our support services and other fun things to do on campus than our students? So I'll pass it off to Katie if you don't mind talking about interprofessionalism.
Yeah, so talking about interprofessionalism, we have this really cool program at each campus that's interprofessional education, or IPE. And with that, you kind of get to collaborate with the other programs. So for our campus, we got to talk to the pharmacy program and our OT program, and you get to kind of learn like what each other's programs do and how we all can interact together now and going into the field in the future. So it's really cool that having that at MCPHS, that we're able to have the just different medical professionals at our campuses. And so one of the ones that I was able to go participate in for this past semester was that we all had to read a book before the semester started. And during that time, we all got together at, I think it was after spring break, we got to all talk to about the book together, and we got to hear everyone's opinion about it and talking about our each other's different takes on the book and how we can apply it going into the field with each other, and talking about how we each have our own responsibility in taking care of a patient, and how maybe even learning from each other of like, what does the OT do for the patient versus what does a PA do for the patient. And even like talking to pharmacy, I know my group, we talked about like talking about the taking a asthma inhaler and who's supposed to educate the patient more on it, who has the best knowledge about it, and just really getting to learn each other's roles and how to rely on each other, which is, I think, just such a great opportunity to have getting before even going into the field itself. I'm not sure if you want me to kind of go into more detail or anything like that, but
No, I think that's
I can if
really
you need
great.
to.
I think we'll toss it over to Chaz if you don't mind to talk a little bit about, I don't know if you had a different IPE experience or also talking about those student services that are available on campus.
Yeah, so the IPE program is pretty cool. The one I did, I believe it was the first semester of the year. It was a big kind of collaborative event with the dental hygienist program, the sonography program, and then also the pharmacy program as well. And that was just really cool because as a future provider, you should be aware of all the different kind of healthcare professions that are available to the patient. It'll make you a more effective clinician in the future, knowing when to refer your patient to, um, like what Katie had said, to perhaps other disciplines that may be able to, who have more knowledge on helping the patient better than perhaps yourself. So just being more aware of that, I think it's a unique perspective that MCPHS brings to the student body and your PA experience. And more specifically on those student success services, I personally used a lot of the peer tutoring, especially the first didactic semester, just because you're first kind of diving into all that new curriculum, all that new, uh, a lot of really dense human physiology, pathophysiology, all that kind of stuff that perhaps many of you maybe haven't really touched upon too much in the classroom setting, especially if you're a non-traditional student who's taken a few years off. So really having those resources is really important. It really helped me kind of quickly adjust to the rigor of the PA curriculum. And also what's really cool, I'll quickly touch upon the faculty advisors, because at least I'll assume it's for the accelerated program as well, but in Boston, like each student gets their own faculty advisor. Um, and so like my advisor, I've become very close to him. He's really kind of helped me move throughout the program, giving me advice, and just kind of being there when things get difficult. And I think that's such a important kind of aspect to the PA school kind of experience, is really having a lot of support system, especially if you're like me, who's from out of state. I don't have any family in Boston, and so kind of like who could I lean on? And the fact that I had the program, which and the advisors who had nothing but wanted my success, is super valuable, and really one of the great things about this program.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the greatest things that we have at MCPHS is those support services. So, not only the Center for Academic Success and Enrichment, who hires those peer tutors, those are current PA students that are there to kind of tutor you as much or as little as you need. But we have an Office of Student Access and Accommodations for students who require any physical or maybe test taking accommodations while they're in school. We also have counseling services. So if you're ever feeling kind of like overwhelmed or just, you had something going on outside of school that's affecting your schooling, the counselors are super great. They do in-person and telehealth meetings. And we also have career services. So as you're getting to that point where you're thinking about applying for a job and needed any assistance with that, you also have them. Now, I'm curious if you guys participate in any clubs or organizations.
I participate in SAPA at Manchester campus. I actually work for the admissions part of SAPA, so this is kind of part of what I do. And what SAPA is I can't remember what it stands for completely, but it's a do you know, Courtney?
I do. It's the Student Academy of the American Academy of Physician Assistants.
It's long, but it's good. It's a lot of fun and you get to participate in and um just kind of work with your peers about what you want to do for your class. So I know that my class we you meet once a month and we've talked about doing our summer picnic at Manchester, but also doing some volunteering for the class and um we worked on going to a in city campus for children where we donated a lot of toiletries for them and then also kind of going in and getting to play with them, paint their nails and help them out, which was really cool. But also just you get to do different roles in SAPA. So I know that there's some that work with more of like running SAPA and then also the volunteering. And I know that you can also work with more of like nationally talking to PAs and also getting to learn more about like registration and everything for PAs as well. Overall, a very cool opportunity.
Yeah, and on the Boston campus, we have the acronym is PASS, or Physician Assistant Student Society, and it's basically like the program's kind of social professional kind of organization, and so they do a lot of community service building, also planning. Um, During like the spring break and winter breaks and summer breaks, they'll do kind of out of country, almost like service trips for to kind of apply your clinical skills in underserved areas around the world. I think the Boston folks, we went to Nicaragua, I believe it was, just this past spring break, and a lot of students loved it. And so those are the kind of opportunities that are there in the group and in pass. They're also in charge of customizing your um, like your shirts and sweatshirts. So of course it's a staple if you're going to be in PA school, is to get that Patagonia quarter zip. And I of course got mine immediately. That was customized. It said MCPHS Boston on it and everything. And you will look so cool walking around with your Patagonia. Am in California and I feel so that's one of the other things that we do. And then lastly, they also host a lot of social events as well. So a lot of you, if you're going to be coming to a new city, you don't have any friends, I wouldn't worry too much. That's what I thought too. But again, the program does a great job of kind of facilitating a lot of great opportunities to meet people and meet a lot of people within your cohort. And so we did a lot of things, from like going out to doing fundraising at different bars around the Fenway and Boston area. And I know the second years have an end of didactic celebration, and they just recently celebrated that. I'm at this really nice brunch area that was along the water. And so there's a lot of opportunities to really meet people and also lean on your cohort to be successful.
Thank you both. Yeah, I think there's a ton of ways to get involved and to just sort of like have fun too while you're on campus, right? So getting involved in those PA organizations, or even some of the non-PA organizations like Outing Club or Student Government Campus Activities Board. So as we kind of move towards, getting more specific on which campus you're interested, which program you're interested in, I will just kind of make a disclaimer, the first one of several during this presentation, that you are going to have to choose both a campus and a program to apply to. So you can only apply to one program, one campus per cycle. And so that's why we like to kind of give you some information on every single one of our campuses and our two different programs. So let's start with Manchester. So this campus is actually located in the state of New Hampshire, about an hour north of Boston. So it is our one New Hampshire state campus. And this campus is right in downtown Manchester, which is known for its New England charm, with small businesses and shops, local restaurants, and historic architecture. So within a short walk or drive from campus, students have access to a ton of really fun stuff. So we've got parks, museums, local sports, and local historic theaters. We have a bigger concert venue. I know last year, oh my God, I just spaced his name. Who is the comedian that's from Manchester, New Hampshire? Adam Sandler. Oh my goodness. So he actually came to the SNHU arena last year, and we had discounted tickets for our students, which is really cool. And I also think that we're really well placed for a lot of different things. So Manchester is only, like I said, an hour north of Boston. It's a quick ride in if you wanted to visit the bigger city. We're an hour away from the seacoast. So if you wanted to go to the New Hampshire or Maine beaches, you can get to those pretty easily. We're also located in the lakes region. So lots of lakes and mountains up in the White Mountains. So we find a lot of like outdoorsy people in the Manchester campus. Manchester and the surrounding area is home to 15 different colleges and universities. So you'll see a lot of students in the Manchester area. Our campus was created in 2002. PA is actually the birth of the Manchester campus. We took over Notre Dame's accelerated PA program, and we have grown to have 4 different healthcare programs. So apart from PA, we have occupational therapy, we have pharmacy, and we have nursing. And all programs at this campus are offered year-round, meaning that we do have a summer semester. And at around 400 to 500 students, this smaller campus definitely makes for a more intimate and close-knit atmosphere. So that's something that's very special about Manchester, is that you kind of know everybody. I think no matter what PA program you're in, you're going to get to know your classmates really well and your faculty. But Manchester really is a place where like everybody knows everybody. And it's nice to have that support system. You hopefully will have that at home, but then when you come to campus, you have these other people who are rooting for you day in and day out. So that's a little bit about our Manchester campus. I wonder if Katie might tell us, you're in Manchester. Is there anything specific about Manchester that really excites you, what you like about the city or the campus?
Yeah, I mean, I really like you were saying, how close knit it is. It is only like two buildings. And even after the IP event that we had, I ran into everyone that was part of my group, and like they just say hi to you, ask how your program's going. And even our security guard is like wants to check in every day, making sure like everything's going well. And it's just like a great way to going into class, just feeling like everyone's on your side, even if it is like an accelerated program. It feels really nice. And I've started kind of adventuring out. This is the first time I've lived in like a city. So getting to adventure out and finding like your little places throughout the city is a lot of fun. So my friends and I have found like our favorite little coffee shop that we go and study at, and it's overall like it's a really great area that you find like your favorite spots and you really stick to them. It's really great.
Great, thank you. So let's move on and talk a little bit about Worcester. So Manchester and Worcester are home to the accelerated program. So Worcester's about 45 to 50 minutes away from Boston, right in the center of Massachusetts, if you're not familiar with where we are. So it is the second largest city in New England, and it really is a healthcare hub, just like Boston and Manchester. We're kind of in the center of like some really big hospitals and other healthcare facilities. And that just means that you'll have clinical opportunities right near you. Worcester has a pretty rich history, and I know that NPR recently named it the new It Town, and it's really becoming a booming hub for technology and innovation. It is a fun city to be in. There's a lot of stuff going on. We have parks, theaters, there's a lot of conservatories, there's a ton of really great live music. It's a great foodie town. We've got a couple of our own sports teams here. And so I don't think you can ever be bored in Worcester. And then the campus itself hosts 9 different fields of study. So it has all of the programs in Manchester plus a few extra. They're all graduate and professional programs. And just like Manchester, these programs do go year round, so including that summer semester. Two kind of unique things I would say about Boston is the number of clinics that we offer. So several of our programs, acupuncture, physical therapy, dental hygiene, and optometry, have clinics right on site. So we're able to see patients from the community for cheap or free and really give back to the community. And I think the other big kind of unique thing about the Worcester campus is that we offer on-campus residences. So different studio apartments, suite style apartments, condos, you name it, we kind of have it. So if that's something that's important to you, we offer guaranteed housing for your whole time in the PA program. Michaela, I know you live just a mile from campus and you've been in Worcester for years. So do you have any kind of like favorite things about Worcester that you could tell us about?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, as Courtney said, I've lived here for quite some time now, so I've kind of been all over the city here. But one of my favorite things is something we kind of already touched upon a little bit too, is the city is centrally located, so you can go anywhere at any time. We have a T station that is less than a mile away from our campus as well, that takes you to tons of different places, even right into Boston. If you wanted to go away for a weekend, you could do that. But there are just avenues to go anywhere in Worcester, and it's so easy to get somewhere from here. It's one of my favorite things about being in the middle of the city here. But besides that, in the city itself, there's also tons of things around you. You can't go around the corner without finding another Dunkin' Donuts. There are just so many different food places, as Courtney was saying. You will never go hungry here when you're on campus. There's places all around the campus you can go. One of my favorite things to do that's nearby is Polar Park. It is a baseball stadium that they built only a couple years ago, so it's pretty new actually. And it looks amazing. It's like kind of a little bit smaller. If you've ever been to Fenway before, it's a little bit smaller than that, but gives you the exact same feel. And one of my favorite things about it is that they have like local vendors from around the Worcester area. So we have Coney Island hot dogs that's famous in Worcester. And they actually have one of their shops inside of Polar Park, and they have other places like that within the park as well. So it's kind of really cool. A lot of students also say that they get their tickets really cheap for like $9. So it's kind of a nice, quick thing to do if you can't think of something to do on a Friday night. They do fireworks too every week on Fridays, which is really cool. But besides that, there are tons of things to do in Worcester. We have a big DCU center, which is a big event arena where they have tons of concerts, vendor fairs, all kinds of things in there. And that's actually located right in between our two main buildings on our Worcester campus. So you could walk by it every day potentially when on campus. So there's a lot going on there. I love being in Worcester. It's one of the reasons I've been here for quite some time now.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And then we have our Boston campus. It feels like everybody who's applying knows Boston, right? It's kind of big area. We're part of the colleges of the Fenway. So Chess mentioned earlier something about going to see some baseball games. We're right next to Fenway Park. But not only that, our Boston campus is located right in the heart of the Longwood medical area, which is just a quick walk away from prestigious healthcare facilities like Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center, Brigham and Women's, Boston Children's Hospital, and more. So really, Boston is the epicenter of healthcare in New England, where each day more than 46,000 employees and over 21,000 students come to work and learn. So the Longwood medical area averages 6,500 job openings annually and 2.6 million patients each year. Now, our Boston campus is our largest campus, and you'll see a huge chunk of those students are undergraduate students. But we also have several graduate offerings. So obviously we have Master of Physician Assistant Studies. We also have a Doctor of Pharmacy, among a couple of other non-clinical graduate programs. And you'll learn about this in a little bit, but not every program goes year-round in Boston. And so it's a little bit different in that sense. And I wonder, Chas, if you could tell us a little bit more about your experience in Boston.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Los Angeles, so I'm kind of used to a big city, and so going to school in a city atmosphere was something that would have been ideal for me. And so Boston was a nice medium because it's not as big as per se New York City, but it's not too small if you're someone who likes to feel like a small fish in a big pond type of thing. It's got tons of different opportunities. Courtney had said that there was tons of hospitals and clinical opportunities around the area. You're right next to Harvard Medical School. You actually end up taking your cadaver experience, your gross anatomy lab at the school. And so it's very convenient because it's right across from MCPHS. In terms of the actual city life, I mean, it can't be beat. If you are over 21, the bar culture is very fun. The sport culture is unmatched. I mean, I would argue that it's honestly better than LA. I think just like when there's a Red Sox game, I mean, the entire city comes to life. I'm not a Red Sox fan, and I never will be, respectfully. I will be a Dodgers fan. But I can respect culture, and I can respect the city of Boston, the people who live here, because it is such a blast. And the tickets are not that expensive. I mean, you can easily get them for $10, $15. And then obviously also you have like the Boston Bruins games if you're into hockey. And if you're not into hockey, you will be. or else you will be ostracized by the city, because it's so much fun. And then it's also the Celtics games as well, which you can oftentimes get discounted tickets through the MCPHS the student life center. They will have kind of opportunities to go for, I think I got a Celtics ticket for $20. Again, I'm not a Celtics fan. I will always be a Lakers fan, but I can appreciate Boston culture and the New England culture. So it's a great place to go if you are looking for a campus that is a very much a work hard, play hard kind of attitude. Everyone puts in the work, they study, they put in the hours, but afterwards, everyone knows how to let loose a little bit, go out as a cohort, and it's a great time.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and start talking a little bit, and thank you, Chaz, for sharing that. I do appreciate that. We won't get into what I'm rooting for, but that's fine. So let's talk about the programs themselves a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the Accelerated Masters of Physician Assistant Studies. This is the one that is offered on both of our Manchester and our Worcester campuses. So this program has a spring start, which is in January, and this is a unique start date compared to other PA programs because it means that our graduation date is actually in December, which is a time where fewer people are applying for jobs. So it kind of gives our students a little boost in the job market when they're applying. This program is considered accelerated, which means it goes year round, summers included. It is 24 months, so 2 years. The first year is 12 months of a didactic year, and then 12 months of clinical rotations. Those clinical rotations are made up of 9 5-week rotations. We will talk about those a little bit more in a couple slides here. But those are rotations all around the Northeast. For seat size on both our Worcester and Manchester campus, we have 70 seats on our Worcester campus and 55 in our Manchester campus. Something we like to note here is that even though the seat size is different, the acceptance rate is the same. And in fact, there are no notable differences between the two campuses besides location. So everything about the program, the curriculum, schedule, everything is exactly the same. The only difference is the location. So that is just something to keep in mind when applying. They're exactly the same. It really just comes down to what your preference is location-wise. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the Boston campus and their non-accelerated Masters of Physician Assistant Studies program. So they have a fall start, which is in September. And they are considered non-accelerated because they do have the summers off. So their program is a total of 30 months, which consists of 4 semesters of didactic semesters and then 3 semesters of clinical rotations, which also follows that 9 5-week rotation schedule, similar to the other program. So as I kind of mentioned, they will follow that fall spring schedule during those 4 didactic semesters where you'll have the summers off. And then after that, it will be year round, summers included, after your second year in the program when you're on your clinical rotations. And those rotations, similar to the other program, will be around the Northeast. One notable difference for Boston is that they do have slightly more seats. So they have 100 seats, keeping in mind that some of these seats may be taken by Boston's internal pathway program that they have for undergraduates as well. Okay, let's talk about your clinical year a little bit. So your next 2 slides will just give you a little bit of information here. So as I mentioned, the 9 5-week rotations is for both programs. These are some of your, well, these are the rotations that you would go on, including pediatric, psychiatry, surgery, etc. So when you're going into your clinical year, you will be able to request certain areas, and then you will be assigned rotations ahead of your clinical year so that you can plan accordingly. They will try to get you sites that you request, but if they can't, they will place you somewhere within the Northeast. We can go ahead and talk about now on our next slide here. It's going to show the areas that you could be placed in the Northeast. So you'll see all the states there. We do have options outside of these states as well. So as I mentioned, when you're requesting them, you don't have to just request within the Northeast. You can request other states as well. So Chaz, maybe when he was coming in, when he's going into his clinicals, maybe he'll decide to request California because he lives over in California. So you could do something like that if you wanted to. We also have international rotations as well. So you could look into doing international rotations. I believe we have Bolivia, Ghana.
There's Bolivia, Belize, Ghana, Switzerland, and they're trying to get one of the Asian countries back.
Yes, thank you. Totally blanked on them today. I had them yesterday. But yeah, so we have those international rotations there. So if you wanted to look into doing something like that, you could also look into that as well. All right, we can go ahead and talk about, we're going to go into talking about direct patient care. This is a big part of your application, and a lot of students have questions about this because what we consider to be direct patient care can be different compared to what other schools may consider to be direct patient care. So here are a few tips that we like to just go over. So your job description and day-to-day responsibilities are more important than the job title itself. So when you're asking yourself if it counts, look at what you're actually doing in the role rather than what the title of the position is, because that's when we really want to know, is it hands-on care? Because that's what's important. Next, all patient care hours must be completed prior to applying to the PA program. So we cannot take any hours after you apply. We can take academic updates, but nothing after you apply. So everything has to be beforehand. And finally, patient care experience may not include caring for a relative or a family member. So it does have to be somebody outside of that scope. So here are some examples to think about when you're looking at your exact duties. So administering medications, performing procedures, obtaining EKGs, taking vitals, all things like this would be considered direct patient care. So if your role has something to do with this, then you can pretty much count that it probably will count for direct patient care. And one of the things that does count that's maybe not doesn't follow those same standards, we do accept medical scribe, which you will see on this list here. So this is some examples of some roles. Medical scribing is the one that we do count that's not necessarily hands-on. So if you do have experience in medical scribing, that does count. The most common ways of getting patient care include nursing assistants or roles that require a CNA, LNA license, medical assistants, EMTs, things like that. So those are the most common ways. And candidates are kind of encouraged to seek direct patient care where a PA may work. So although you'll see tons of positions on here that maybe a PA doesn't necessarily work, an optometrist's office, the dentist's office, things like that, we will accept it. But if you can get a role with a PA, that is even better.
All right, I'm going to jump in now and we'll talk some more about the nitty-gritty of each of our programs. So you'll see here that the admissions requirements are listed on this slide. For our website, you can find all of this information. It is always there. At the end of this presentation, you'll also have my information, Courtney's and Michaela's, that you can reach out to us if you have any specific questions. But as you can see on this slide, there are slight differences between our programs. So in Boston, we're looking at 3.0 overall CASPA GPA, 3.0 science CASPA GPA, and then 3.0 prerequisite GPA. As Michaela had mentioned, you need a minimum of 250 direct patient care hours at the time that you submit your application. We understand that individuals are going to be working, gaining more hours as you're going. So we expect that those hours are going to go up, but you need to have the minimum when you hit submit for CASPA. PA shadowing is not required. It is highly, highly recommended, but it's not going to hurt your application if you don't have it. It just helps your application if you do. For Worcester and Manchester, we require a 3.0 overall GPA for CASPA. a 3.2 science GPA and a 3.2 prerequisite GPA. You'll also see listed here that 250 to 500 direct patient care hours is recommended. Courtney and I and Michaela, we've all had many conversations. I don't believe in the last 5 years they've accepted anyone who hasn't had any patient care. So yes, we list it as recommended, but it is highly encouraged without saying the word required. And then the same thing for PA shadowing, not required, but highly recommended. There is that little asterisk at the bottom that says meeting minimum requirements does not guarantee you an interview or a spot in the program. In a few slides, we'll talk about what our averages are. We do expect, you know, PA is the most competitive program at MCPHS. It's the most competitive program kind of across the country. So yes, these are the minimums, but we expect our applicants to have well beyond this. All right, here's a slide about prerequisites. So this is where we get a lot of our questions. You'll see the differences between our programs as well. So whenever we get an email that says something about biology, we know that you're speaking about Boston versus if you're asking about specifically taking organic chemistry and biochemistry, you're probably asking about Manchester or Worcester. But you'll see that there are differences between the programs. As Courtney had mentioned in the beginning, you are only eligible to apply to one program at one campus per cycle. So making sure that you know what the prereqs are is going to help you best. Just a few differences you'll see. Anatomy and physiology is required for both. The lab is required for Worcester and Manchester, though we do know that you most likely took the lab when you took the class. And then in Boston, we're requiring you to do 3 semesters of chemistry where we can mix and match. One has to be upper level. Manchester and Worcester, we require chem, general chem, organic chem, and biochem. All right, so how to apply? Reiterating once again, you will only apply to one campus. CASPA opened up just about 2 weeks ago on April 25th. And this is for, there's a lot of 2020s in this slide, so take a picture, make sure you write it down. But for Boston, we're looking at fall of 2025, and the deadline is this September. For Manchester and Worcester, we're looking at a spring of 2026 entry, so just 1 semester after Boston, and that has a January 15th of 2025 deadline. Official transcripts are going to be sent to CASPA. Wherever you have completed college coursework, send that official transcript to CASPA, and that is required. CASPA will allow you to submit with 2 letters of recommendation, but all of our campuses, Boston, Worcester, and Manchester, we require a minimum of 3 letters of recommendation. CASPA will also allow you to submit up to 5. If you submit 5, we will read all 5, but we don't have any specifications for who they need to come by. Does it need to be on letterhead? We don't have those specifications, but if you do have questions, please feel free to reach out to us. If you have completed any college coursework outside of the US, we do need a transcript evaluation completed. So that's either usually by WES or ECE. And you will then send that to CASPA as well. And if English is not your first language, you do need a proficiency exam. When we're looking at prerequisites, a C or higher is required for all of them, not a C minus, C, C plus, and higher. You are eligible to apply with no more than 2 missing or outstanding prerequisites. So they can be in progress, they can be flat out missing, and you just would need to have those then completed if you were admitted to the program before it's starting. And for prerequisites of math and science courses, we do have a 10-year expiration. So 10-year limit for when you plan to matriculate. So a way to think about that is for Boston, anything prior to fall of 2015 would be past that 10 years because it's for fall of 2025. And then for Worcester and Manchester, we're looking at anything prior to 2016, since it would be a spring 2026 start. As I mentioned, you know, we do have those minimums, but competitive applicants are considered by GPAs, your prerequisite progress, your experience, your motivation, what you've done within healthcare to find out that PA is your goal, and then the time of your application. We are rolling admissions. In Boston, we are not your traditional rolling admissions where we send out decisions all at once, but if you apply earlier in the cycle, you may interview earlier in the cycle. but we send out final decisions all at the same time. In Worcester and Manchester, we are traditional rolling admissions where we're reading applications as they come in. You apply earlier, you may get interviewed earlier, and then you usually find out an interview decision for your final within 2 to 4 weeks of having that interview completed. So just slight differences between the programs as well. What your interview day looks like. So Boston, historically, we're looking at interviews that start usually July or August and go through November. In Worcester and Manchester, we historically start our interviews in October and go through early spring, so February or March. And interview invitations always come by email. The way that it's broken down is in Boston this year, we were able to invite students back on campus for interviews. And I know Worcester and Manchester, we did virtual interviews. They are still making their final decisions for both campuses, what they're doing this upcoming year. But hopefully we're able to welcome everybody back to our campuses and having, the slight hybrid to be able to offer some virtual ones too. But when you do come to MCPHS for an interview, you'll have a presentation by the faculty, by us in admissions. You'll have interview with faculty one-on-one, as well as interview with alumni one-on-one. In Boston, you also have a written exercise. And then in Manchester and Worcester, you have a student panel. Boston, you do as well when you're on campus. And then you get next steps with the admissions office. So when you'll find out your decision, all of the stuff that I just told you about, we'll go over again as well. Quickly want to pass it off to our students of how you prepared for your interview and just, say one thing that you thought about your interview that you had with MCPHS. Whoever wants to start, I won't put you on the spot, so. Go ahead, Chas.
I was gonna say ladies first, but it's fine. My interview, okay, so the way I prepared for it, I asked my mom just to ask me questions. She didn't really know what a PA did entirely. And so it was a really good experience to be able to articulate the role to her and how I came to apply for the position. And I think if you can kind of explain it to family members, since I think they can be your harshest critics because they just love you. And so I think if I was able, my understanding was if I could impress my mom, because she is not easily impressed, then I can for sure impress the admissions committee. And so you don't some people may need professional help. I know there's a lot of interviewing resources. And you can pay someone to kind of drill you on questions, which is totally something you can do. For me, at the time, I wasn't really financially able to do so. And so I leaned on the resources I did have. And I think the biggest thing you should really think about is understanding why you want to become a PA and understanding who you are as a person. What drives you to succeed, what drives you to help people, and really delving on the experiences that you had in your past that brought you up to this point is really, I think, what they're looking for. And so when I had my interview, I had it with two individuals. It was a faculty member and then an alum. And the faculty member was, her name was Dr. Christina. It's so difficult for me to pronounce her last name. She's Greek, but
Her last name is very hard to pronounce.
yes, but she's wonderful and was super welcoming and very nice. And really kind of, I felt like the whole interview experience was it was high stakes, but low stress once you got into the midst of it. It was very much a conversation. I think I ended up over preparing. I didn't feel underprepared at all, and it was very much more casual than I was expecting, but still, it was professional in the sense where they wanted to know about who you were as a person. And so Dr. Christina, I remember she asked me like what I like to do for fun. And I thought we were going to start like YPA, and I was ready. And I like looked at her and I'm like, well, I like to travel and I like to play the saxophone. And then we just started talking about music and jazz and all that kind of stuff for 5 minutes before jumping right into the interview. And I think that's kind of a testament to kind of the faculty and the experience at MCPHS is everyone wants to get to know you, not just as a future clinician, but also as a person. And I think if you're able to kind of convey that as an applicant, not just in your just on CASPA, but also in person, I think you'll be very successful.
Yeah, I want to say Chaz really said it perfectly. Like, going in, I was also like really, really nervous about it. I was like, oh my God, like I really want to get into this school, just going in very nervous. And then being in it, realizing that it was more of a conversation with the professors I had at the Manchester campus. I had Professor Gallagher, and immediately just we started going into a conversation about, because I think she asked me about what I wanted to go into, and I was talking about pediatrics with her, and she was like, oh, I've worked years with pediatrics, and she was really connecting, more of getting like railed with questions one after another and really wanting to know exactly who you are. And getting to preparing for it, I was definitely nervous for it. So I bought I think it was the PA platform interview book, and I read that for the summer before like interviews started happening, and just kind of getting it to realize what I needed to work on and what kind of questions maybe be asked in a interview. And with that really helped me personally. And what Chaz was saying, like there are opportunities out there that you can pay for more help if you would like. And you can also use the book, or even just looking online, you can find there's many videos or many websites that talk about what you might want to prepare for or anything, what to wear and all of that. And that really helped me. And one of the suggestions I got was recording yourself, because I was worried about like feeling confident in my interview. And so recording myself and then watching it again and being like, okay, I was stumbling, or maybe I should have thought more before I answered a question. And doing that really helped me personally. And I would recommend it to everyone. If you are feeling nervous for an interview, definitely can record yourself and make yourself feel a little bit better about going into it, because you probably will practice some of those questions that you will actually be asked in the interview, and you'll feel definitely very confident being there and getting to show the best self that you are.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much. I knew you would both touch upon it, but students all the time tell us that it was one of their more relaxing interviews to have. Through across all our campuses, students, really feel that the professors want to know who they are as people, which is really nice, because it's important to know how they're going to fit into the program and how MCPHS will fit into your goals for PA. So I want to go over quickly some frequently asked questions. And this is what Courtney, Michaela, and I get very, very often. So I would say probably at least 20 times a day. So to answer some of the questions that pop up all the time for everyone, I'm going to go through them in the next couple slides, but please also feel free. Right when I'm done, we'll start the Q&A, and we'll make sure, if you have any questions for our students, that those are some really important ones to get their wonderful insight on. So as I mentioned before, what we're looking at for those average GPAs for our incoming students, I have been with MCPHS for about 4.5 years now. This has stayed consistent my whole time here. Courtney can say for most of her time here, it's also stayed consistent. Michaela, not to leave you out, you're just new, but it just very consistently between that 3.5 to 3.7 range for our Boston campus and our Manchester and our Worcester campus. So you can see what the averages are right here, but this does not mean that we don't interview lower or higher. It's just where the averages have sat for quite a while. We do not have a supplemental application. We do have additional questions included in your CASPA when you choose the campus, but there is no additional application after CASPA. Just when you hit submit to CASPA, you're good to go. We do have rolling admissions, as I mentioned before. Our Manchester and our Worcester campus is more of your traditional rolling admissions, where Boston has rolling admissions. I'm reviewing applications as they're coming in, but your decision is sent out all at the same time. MCPHS does not require any standardized tests. No GRE, no MCAT, no PA CAT, no, what's the new one, Casper? None of those tests. If you do submit them, sometimes we will see them on your application, since you might submit them to your CASPA, and then that CASPA goes to all the different places you're applying. We don't consider them just because they're not required for anyone. And if you have patient care hours that are outside of the US, as long as it's meeting what Michaela went over with what we're looking for hands-on direct patient care, those experiences, absolutely it can count if it's outside of the US. Prerequisites completed at any regionally accredited institution are acceptable. This includes online courses and labs. So if it's at a university level, if it's at the community college level, it is acceptable. If you have questions, you can just reach out to us and we're more than happy to look at that for you too. For shadowing, if you do have PA shadowing, to reiterate, it's not required, it's recommended, but any in-person shadowing of a PA is the only type of hours that will count. Once your application is submitted, unfortunately, by the volume of applications we receive, we cannot update your application. So once you hit submit in CASPA, they verify it, they send it to the schools that you're applying to. We're unable to update anything, which is why we stress having no more than 2 missing prerequisites and having the minimum patient care hours when you hit submit. This is a question that I get all the time because the way that it's worded on the website is a little bit confusing, but AP credit. We do accept AP credit for prerequisite classes. The way the website says it is we don't accept any transfer credit for the classes you take in PA school, but AP classes taken within the last 10 years are acceptable as long as you received a 4 or a 5 on the exam, and those scores have to be sent to us directly from College Board. One thing though is if you got AP credit, this is specifically for Boston, if you got AP credit for biology and they took it for Bio 1 and 2, we'll only take it for Gen Bio 1. So just a little bit of a difference. And then if your GPA falls below the minimums that we require, unfortunately, we cannot consider your application due to the competitive nature of the PA program. Students who do not meet the minimums are not considered for an interview. This is all of our contact information. So there's Courtney on the left, Michaela in the middle, and me on the right. Please feel free to reach out to us. We are always happy to do phone calls, virtual, in person. If you want to visit campus, you can go to mcphs.edu/visit to plan a visit to campus, see what we have coming up. And then we always have content that is being posted on our YouTube channel. You can see labs, you can see more of that in-depth stuff. So I'll pass it off to, I think, Courtney, Michaela, for our Q&A.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've gotten a few questions in the Q&A, and some of them we've just sort of typed answers to because we certainly want to be conscientious of time. But I think we have this really great one here that is for our students, where, for a candidate who is considering which campus to apply to, accelerated, non-accelerated, can you talk about why you chose your campus, but also your program?
I can start off with that one. I chose Manchester partly because I have family in the area, and one thing that I learned from like applying to different places was that having a support system was a major important thing to have. So making sure that I had someone that I could rely on that was close to me was something that I found important. So that was partially why I chose the Manchester program, and as well as looking for like accelerated versus non-accelerated. I personally wanted to look for an accelerated program so I could start getting into the field quicker than a non-accelerated program. And that was the majority of why I chose like Manchester versus the Boston campus, as well as looking at Worcester versus Manchester.
Yeah, and for me, the reason why I chose Boston, part of it was a little superficial. So, because I'm from California, I was looking at the different schools, and I had never heard of Worcester or Manchester before, and I didn't know you pronounced this Worcester. I thought it was Worcester, for like total like transparency. And so
That's common for a non-Massachusetts person. It's okay.
yeah. And so I was like, I can't even point that out on a map, but I could point out where Boston was. And so that was partly why. But the other part also was I'm someone who's very much, I just need breaks when I study and when I pursue different goals and everything of that sort. And so I think for me, the ability for Boston to kind of have like this summer break that I'm on now after my first year, and then be able to kind of take time to be with family and do everything that I wanted to do and go travel. Like I'm going to be going and backpacking around Europe and later in July, and so being able to have the opportunity to do that with the security of knowing that I'm in PA school and I do have a place to come and finish up my career, my training before jumping into being a provider in the future was something that was super not only kind of nice to have, but also reassuring. And so I think having like those opportunities too was just super great. And also for me, I kind of wanted an experience of where I could meet a lot of different people, people who were surrounded by similar age to me, and also goals as well. And I just felt like the Boston area being such a huge academic center and having a bunch of undergraduate campuses and graduate programs around the area, especially if you live on campus, you in the Boston program, you'll be living on the Emmanuel College campus. And so you get to meet students who go there as well. And it's just a really great intercollegiate experience to have if you were looking for something to extend your experience past undergrad. But again, there's just different kind of I would say preferences to the programs. And for me, I just wasn't looking to necessarily accelerate my experience, but really take my time with the materials. So it just depends on who you are as a person.
Sure, yeah. And I think just to wrap up, that we've gotten through most of these questions in the Q&A. Do either of you two students have any like last minute advice for these candidates who will be going through the application process this year, whether it's prepping for PA school, applying, or even getting through PA school?
I would say my major advice that I feel like I always give to pre-PAs is once you find out like where you're going is to take a break, to just take some time to do something that you really will want to enjoy, especially doing accelerated because you know you're going to jump right into it and you're not you for me personally, I took a break between college and grad school, so I needed to figure out my learning process all over again. So just taking that break before getting into PA school really is helpful, not trying to learn as much as you can about different like medical terminology or trying to read books beforehand about it, trying to feel more prepared. Like you're going to learn the material. You're getting into the program because they want you there, you know what you're talking about. So being able to just take some time to take care of yourself, spend time with family and friends because you might get super busy or maybe even overwhelmed at times and knowing that you were able to take some time for yourself is really helpful.
Yeah, and I think to be successful in PA school, I think what separated those students from who were successful in the program as to those who struggled, I think was being adaptable to how you learn and how you study. Because there's a lot of lone wolves in the program that started, and they really struggled when we were trying to do group learning and try to collaborate all together. A lot of students really struggled and they kind of started to fall behind. And part of that was because they felt like in undergrad they never really had an issue studying for exams by themselves, and they didn't feel like they needed to change. But as a future provider and as a PA, part of our profession is rooted in the idea of adaptability, and part of that is going to be expected of you when you start the program, no matter if you are an accelerated or not. It can be and it will be hard, and so just having, being willing to adjust to the circumstances that are brought upon you and the different exams and the different kinds of professors that you'll come about. If you're willing to kind of change and move about as you progress through the program, I think that will make you most successful in school and beyond that.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you so much to our students. I feel like your advice is always really insightful and just kind of helpful and soothing for someone who's about to go through this whole process, which could be really overwhelming. So that's all we have for you, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this information session. And of course, you have our contact information up on this slide. So if you have questions from here, you can still connect over with us. I want to thank our students for taking time to come today. They're actually on their summer break, so they don't even have classes right now. They just took the time out of their day to come and say hi. And yeah, we look forward to seeing your application. So stay in touch, come visit, and hopefully we'll see you soon. All right. Take care, everybody.